So we've obviously mentioned GPS first, mainly associated with what happens on pitch, general, running loads and kind of whatever things that people measure in their respective contexts. But when it comes to an overall picture of the stress the player's under, and practitioners are trying to combine whatever they're measuring from a gym-based perspective, as well as what they're measuring on the pitch-based perspective, how do you recommend people go about doing that? How do you kind of get something that fits into one bucket for both of those different areas? And Shaun, mate, you're up.
I wonder how long I could get away with that. That's this is a mega question because and I'm thinking to my experiences in rugby now, and Tom will know exactly this because he's living and breathing it, that the stuff that we do in the gym constitutes a hell of a lot to the weekly load, and you kind of almost feel that you potentially miss the true extent of that, if that makes sense. I'll probably say that I want to kind of time this right because it'll probably fit into everything, but I think that, I certainly feel that there's been times in the past few years where I've lost my way with all this, and there's been an over-reliance on monitoring, and in particular training load monitoring and what it can tell you, when in reality it's probably not a lot. It's probably a very, very small part, and I think that I can see why that's an easy message to be oversold, but I've almost gone kind of full circle with it now, and sort of going back to kind of basic training principles, so you've got the plan in place, you adjust that plan based on expert domain knowledge, coach experience, and anything that you can get in from a data point of view should only be supplementary to those decisions that have been made by people. And I guess when you look at it from that, you've kind of, for me, I've got to be convinced now that we should be implementing something new, that we should be bringing some new tech or measure in. It's almost not a case of like, let's get as much in as we can. It's like, let's make it hard for this to get into the system, because when you think about it from a coaching point of view, the system's actually pretty good. But yeah, back to the gym stuff. While we're sort of still on tech, I think that now the ability to kind of easily quantify bar speed and everything that goes with that has been massive. That for me is probably, and again, just from someone working in rugby, has been one of the bigger bang for bucks technology-wise, probably maybe as much as, or if not a little bit more than GPS. But other than that, it goes back to the stuff that Ibby's been hammering home, and the fact that we need to try and get a good measure of the response, and how do you sort of combine it across your field-based modalities. So, thinking about it from an internal load point of view, and obviously then a subjective point of view, you've got RPE, which gives you a good general measure of intensity, and it's relative to an individual's minimum maximum, and obviously we can get that's quantifiable. And I just think then some kind of simple coding, if you like, of the nature of the stimulus. So you combine the nature with the intensity, and then from an RPE sense, thereby the load. So you might assume that if you get a 5 on the CR10, let's say, so a hard gym session, 5 on the CR10 scale in the gym, that's predominantly going to be neuromuscular type load, neuromuscular, musculoskeletal load. And visually that lends to maybe as a code of, maybe it might be graphically a blue or something. Then on the pitch, you might say that that's probably leaning towards more cardiometabolic, or, we've got this separation of physiological and biomechanical. And I just think really simply there, you've got something that you can use across two very contrasting types of training, because a 5 on the pitch isn't the same as a 5 in the gym. So you kind of need something to be able to segregate that. And I'm struggling to kind of think of anything else that will give you the same amount of information. Heart rate, brilliant on the pitch. Would always use it if I could. It's not going to tell us a lot in the gym, but then why the hell would you expect it to? Because it's a measure of cardiorespiratory or physiological load when you do a neuromuscular type training.
Just to add to that, Rich, I think this is it's been another issue where there's been this need or want to try and amalgamate everything into one number. And I don't understand where that comes from when you think about the physiology of an individual, like Shaun has alluded to. You have effectively some training that's more mechanical. So let's look at something that might represent that. Maybe session RPE subjectively tells us something about that. Does it relate to the response that you're looking for? If that's the training that you're doing in the gym to improve a particular component, then that measure should explain most of the variance in that response. Yep. Of course, there'll be other. The conundrum in team sports is obviously the vast amount of different types of training taking place, and there's a bit of interference there. But that's a little bit of interference. For the most part, a good measure in the gym should tell you about the response in the gym. A good measure on the pitch should tell you about your aerobic fitness, so on and so forth. So I think we need to understand the sum of the parts before we're trying to amalgamate it all together. And again, this need to have one number for everything has kind of led to that little bit. And some of that has been a sales pitch. That's been sales pitch from technology companies. You see them putting all the different metrics into one number. I don't, some of them are simply amalgamated together to, add high, I've seen high intensity distance, total distance, and a few others added together to give a total number. Then seen other approaches where you add them all together, put them through a black box, and it gives you an RPE score again on a 1 to 5 scale. So why spend all that money to give you an RPE? I just don't understand that. I think you've got to try and separate the things out, understand as much as we can about the different components we're trying to train, and the relationships between the way that we measure and the way that we measure the load and the response that we're looking for, the adaptation that we're looking for, and then try and build onto that. And I think we're a bit, especially with the gym-based stuff, we're a little bit away from that. It'd be interesting to see where the VBT stuff takes it.